This is Danger Man Dan reporting to you live. What are you doing, Dan?
Well, here on Dirt Bike Down Under, we're looking at a 99 model Honda XR600R carburetor.
Okay, man.
What are you doing?
Do you want to ask me why?
Why?
Well, we had a problem with the idle. It would idle too high, and then you would blip the throttle and it would idle too low, and then you would blip the throttle and it would idle back at normal RPMs. So I figured there must be something wrong with the carburetor.
So, what is wrong with the carburetor?
Well, you see, the motorcycle is now 20 years old, being a 1999 model, and it's the year 2019.
Okay.
So 20 years of hard dirt bike riding has taken its toll on the parts. The parts. And so I thought maybe I should have a look at some of the parts inside. So I began right here with the slide, and it looks in quite good condition. There's no scars, no wear. So then I thought I better look inside the ball here, and I felt there's no scars. It's quite clean in there. It slides well. Everything seems to be fine, no slop. I came to the conclusion that what must be happening is as it lifts up in here, when it lifts up, you release the throttle and it comes down, and then you lift it up, and then when you blip it, it falls down. But when you let it relax nice and slow, I thought it was binding on something, but it's not. So I thought, well, heck, what must be the problem?
Then what did you thought?
So I thought, well, what causes the slide to come all the way down to the bottom? And it's this here spring. This spring here returns and pushes this arm, and this arm pushes this little linkage here, pushes it right down, and that pushes it down back to the idle position. And then I noticed, I went, hang on a minute, that's all sloppy. Can you see that slop there? Can you see? It's all loose.
Yeah.
So what was happening was, this was when it was released nice and slow, the slide would only go almost down to the full down, or wherever the idle set. But when you actually let it snap down, that slop there, it would fall down to the bottom. That's why I had an erratic idle. So ask me, how am I going to fix it?
How are you gonna fix it?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I thought, I'm going to ring up Honda and ask Honda if they make this part here and if I could purchase it. And of course they do make the part, only it has to be on back order from Japan. And I thought, well, hopefully it's cheap. And the man said it was going to cost $165 for this part, and this part, when I only need this part, these two parts here, and nothing wrong with them. So I thought, how could I fix this elongated hole. And then I thought, well, heck, what if I was to drill a new hole that's slightly bigger and then find something that fits on this snug? And I thought, I've seen something like that before in my hobby box. So I went in to my shed and I found these here electrical terminals for my RC car. And anyway, it just happened that one of these here little terminals right here, this little terminal here, fits perfectly on these pins. So I said, I reckon that's going to work. So I took my screwdriver.
So now that you're working, man.
Because we're in fast forward mode.
Now that you've done that, while we're waiting, what are some
Did
of
you
your...
fart?
No.
What's that smell? That's dirty.
Dirty rat. I swear.
So I went, hey, this part here fits there. Only this side's all sloppy. This here bullet terminal fits on here beautifully. I'm gonna drill this worn out hole and I'm gonna place this part through. Then I'm gonna solder this here sleeve into here, therefore taking away the slop, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, we'll see. So what are you doing now, Danny?
Well, what we're about to do here is drill ourselves a new hole, one that's round and not oval. So we'll see how this goes, and fingers crossed I don't destroy it because it's darn expensive.
So what are you doing now, Dan?
Well, we're about to drill ourselves a round hole instead of a oval hole. Not that we don't have those special oval drills here.
So go for it.
We bring it down in the middle.
Dan, what are you doing now?
Well, we're about to drill ourselves a nice new round hole. And it's especially important that you use round drill, otherwise that you won't get a round hole. We don't want oval holes. So first I lubricate the drill bit like so, and then I switch on the drill like so. I bring it down nice and easy. Take your time, bring it in, say a little prayer that it won't all go wrong, and here we go, done.
So what are you doing, Danny?
Well, I just drilled this hole here with this drill bit.
Yep.
And I've gone to check, see if the part will fit in. And the hole's just a little bit small. So I've got this here, next size up. And I thought before I go drilling a hole that's gonna be bigger and risking completely destroying it, I'm gonna do a practice hole in this here piece of aluminum.
Sounds good.
So that's a good tip for all of you XR owners out there. If you ever go and drill a hole, you're not quite sure if it's too big, drill a hole in something you don't care about.
Alright, let's test it.
Well, I can live with that. I think that's quite good.
Got good?
We'll go with that.
Alright.
Say action when it's filming.
Action. It's all rough and good. good.
Cutting it fine. Cutting it real fine. That's what I'm doing.
So what are you doing, Dan?
Well, I'm about to cut this here piece of brass with a razor blade. I'll see how I go. I'm pushing down really hard.
What are the dangers in this?
I could slip. I could cut my finger right off. I could slip and cut my wrist. Or worse.
Be careful, man.
I'm not quite sure if this is gonna work.
There we go.
Plug in our soldering iron to get it hot.
Warming up the solder.
Done.
She'll be hot in a couple of seconds. Well, right now we're heating it up because the heat gun right there will take too long. So, yeah. We'll get back to you when we're ready. Okay, we are now introducing the solder. Surprisingly, she's going good. Soldering with a heat gun right in.
That should be plenty.
There's plenty.
Plenty right there.
Now to prove how hot we got it with that heat gun right there, we're gonna temp gun it.
So that solder there melted at 52 degrees, 53, 60.
Pretty damn hot. So right now we're just letting the sucker cool down because she's pretty darn hot. So tell us about yourself, Dan. Why do you have an American accent?
An American accent because I'm from America.
Action.
So it's almost cooled down, but it's still too hot to pick up.
So I heard you went to Australia for a holiday. How was that?
Yeah, it was quite good in Australia. I picked up a little bit of their accent, you know, because sometimes I just go back to talking like a South Australian, and it's just stuck with me. I don't know why, but when I'm back home, I do talk like I always have. But when I get on the phone and talk to my friends back in Oz, I talk like this, so that they know,
Who it
doesn't
is?
confuse them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, this is almost ready to go back in. That's cool.
Oh yeah, sweet.
So, little bit of excess solder right there, but I don't think that'll cause too much issue. Next step, look at that, beautiful, no slop, not like before, like 3 millimeters, not really, maybe half a millimeter, but 3 millimeters of slop. Right now we're down to like nothing. That's perfect.
Yeah,
I'd run that in F1 NASCAR.
nice.
So I'll reassemble it. I'll do a quick rundown on how I can make the job real easy. If you come over here.
Oh, Dan, what are you doing now?
Well, we're about to drill ourselves a nice new round hole. And it's especially important that you use round drill. Otherwise you won't get a round hole. We don't want oval holes. So first I lubricate the drill bit, like so. And then I switch on the drill, like so. I bring it down nice and easy. Take your time. Bring it in. Say a little prayer that it won't all go wrong. And There we go. Done. So we're just gonna put a bit of oil on the slide, rub it around. That way we know that's over lubricated, but oil never hurt nothing. We slide it down in. And then we rotate this spring forward and pull it out. As you can see, the shaft just slides out the way. You lay the arm in and then push it back in. And you gently rotate that spring. Rotating. Come on. Don't bind up. What have you done? There we go. Beautiful. That works. And then we get our correct screw, the shoulder, and our split washer, or they call it a spring washer. Tighten that nice and well. Make sure the gasket's in place. Make sure that it operates nice and smooth. Everything's there. Cover goes on. Spring. There's the spring washer. These are the factory OE screws. Just nice and snug. Nip that one down. Nip this one. And then last of all is our mixture screw, which goes in here. In the correct order goes spring, washer, and the O-ring. I always oil the O-ring before I put it in. Get a 2-stroke oil. And then I hold the carby upside down and put it in. Get a proper screwdriver.
What are you doing, Dan?
Well, I'm going to reapply this manifold back onto the intake. So I'll put a thin layer of Ultra Grey by Permatex. Just a light film, very small amount. Notice it's got lumps in it.
Yeah.
It's because it's gone old and dry. From sitting in my toolbox all through summer. Anyway. I think I might do that again. Not happy with those lumps.
We provide top quality in Dan's shed.
Squeeze it. Give it a good squeeze. Much better. No darn lumps, bumps. Just smooth silicone. I like that word silicone. I've heard those, some people call it silicone, but I prefer silicone. How do you like to say it?
I like silicone as well.
Yeah, silicone. So we just get our bolts and we start them. Just a few turns on each one. That way we know we ain't gonna cross thread them. This bottom one needs an Allen key. That one there just came to a dead stop. Makes me think it needs a shorter bolt. It's quite weird.
Might need the power tool.
I like to do these up with a electric rattle gun. Make sure they're nice and tight. Now you don't want to be too tight, you'll strip the thread. As you can see, these cheap junk Allen keys are all stripped over. This one came with a push bike.
So he got the right tool now?
I've got an Allen key for this bottom one because you need a short reach to get in there. We just make sure we don't strip that hex. Just give it a light thumb finger tension. You don't need to go crazy and yank on it.
So what are we up to now, Dan?
Well, I'm just going to make sure the choke doesn't bind, doesn't rub on anything strange. Looks like it's binding on something. No, that's fine. Just make sure it all operates smooth. I like to put a little bit of silicone spray on the intake manifold before I go to put it in, just so it slides nice and smooth. Now I like to just put a small amount. Oh, what the heck? Anyway, it's a nice amount of silicone spray. And then place the carburetor up into the frame. Make sure you don't get it caught on these hoses and cables. Up and in. It's quite a squeeze in these Hondas. But anyways, get it in. And then just push it in nice and good. It's got a locator at the top so you can't get it out of position. Now clamp.
What now?
Next, we reattach the air box and intake manifold onto the carburetor. We just carefully maneuver this back into position taking note that we don't crush any wires. That pushes into there. Come around here and film. See the rubber here? Gotta get it to go on even, and then just push it on. Done. Screw holes here. 1, 2, 3. Put our bolts back in. This one, make sure you put the wire. Start it. Start it. That one sits low, you've got to really yank it up. Start it. This one here for you a bit longer, for your reservoir. Get that one started. Then I use my electric Milwaukee. I just bring it down nice and gentle. Snug it up with this here, nice and gentle. Next is I'm using 263 thread locker. Don't be tempted to use thread locker on these brass insert screws here. I've learned from experience that it can tear the brass straight out of the plastic if the thread locker doesn't release. Not worth it. This is a homemade. I put my stag pegs here, and this simply just slides onto the frame. Quite simple. Sits on the frame like that. Covers here. I use thread locker to hold the brake on. Start the screw. Start the screw. Use my trusty rattle gun with an 8mm quarter drive socket. Bring it up nice and steady, and then rattle her up. Beautiful. Phillips head. Phillips head. Tighten them up nice and snug. Tighten this one up. You don't have to go crazy. It's only rubber clamping down. If you over tighten it, you'll split the rubber. Over time, it'll just split. Then you make sure your breather hose is routed properly down between the two fish plates that hold the engine. Quite the little prick. Hook it, and it sits behind this little tang. There. That's where the vent goes. The overflow thing. Yeah. This vent. That's it. There. So side panel. This side panel goes into the clips. Done. Fuel tank. Make sure your cables are in, not slopping out. Come forward. Fuel hose. Then this bolt goes in line with that bracket. Right, that's not tight yet. This side. Is it bad light?
Yep. You have to like keep making it focus like crazy.
Does it need a torch? Go to this side. 12mm, 2 seat bolts. This. Quite long. No, still don't get it. That's got it. With a torch. Reconnect the fuel line. Filter on. So you choke, full choke. I don't know what the idle is for that. stalling when you back up.
Right. You happy with the result?
Well, I saved myself 165 Australian dollars. If you like listening to my awesome Australian cross American accent, then like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.